The Inside Scoop with Alex and Jeff.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Inside Scoop with Alex and Jeff. I'm Alex Dingman.
I am Jeff Doss. What is up, guys? Keep sharing, keep letting everybody know to watch Inside Scoop. We are back, yes, live on Facebook. Sorry for last week. As you know, we blame some of our new guys, our newbies to this thing. You know, they kind of they went a little off kilter on one of their shows, and Facebook didn't like it. You know,
Go find us in other places. Go find us.
Oh yeah, they'll find us in other places. So it's all good. But we're excited for a big weekend.
Get out of their box.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. That's true. You're the one saying, hey, everybody needs to go to YouTube anyway. So
yes,
get on YouTube, support us. And you know, it was cool for those that were watching on Instagram. So we got to figure out how to where we can watch. I apologize for those guys that were commenting and we couldn't see the comments on our end here. So we will next time we do that, we'll figure that part out. But man, it's been a crazy week, and we got yes, if you don't know, our episode is the top 25 male point fighters of all time. So start sharing, start tagging people that you think need to be on this list, need to be watching. And guess what? We're going to get all the smoke today. I know we're going to get a lot of people hating on us and saying we're crazy, which I guess that was the whole point for Travis to suggest this episode, so it's all good.
It don't take a lot for people to say I'm crazy anyway.
That's
but
true.
The premise of like this coming out made a lot of sense.
Well, it did make a lot of sense. It did.
When Travis asked, he's like, hey, do you have like a top 10 all time? I'm like, yeah. And then he did that. This is kind of what we were talking about last week on the show. And he's like, where do you have Bailey? And I went, oh, dang.
Yeah.
I think I need to rethink this now.
Yeah.
Right. And so then Woody's like, yeah, but what about this person? What about that person? Like, no. So when he said top 25, this is deep.
I know. It's deep.
So I felt pretty confident about my 25.
Mm-hmm.
The order of it, like I'm literally sweating bullets, man.
Oh, me too. It's stressed me out. I'm down to the last wire right before I got on here and was moving names, and then completely changed my last few literally before you got on, because I just said no, wait, this can't be right. Wait, and yeah. So I don't know, man, but it's going to be a crazy episode. So I can't wait to get into it, but. First, we got some big news. We got a lot of amazing things happen. And again, we got our WMAC Masters. And we're going to welcome our master. What is up, Kid Carmichael? How are you, my friend?
Good, guys. How are you guys doing this week?
Doing great.
So, like I was saying, this week, it's been my kids cannot stop watching WMAC.
How about that? Yeah, I'm curious how's the experience been the last couple of weeks.
It is to the point, and literally today, Louisa, my daughter, she's 8, and she's like, Dad, we need to watch WMAC Masters again. And I'm like, Lou, we watched all of them. She goes, I know, but can we just watch it from the beginning again? And I'm like, yes, we can.
All right.
And I will enjoy it. And when you go back to watch it, because after this, everyone should, if you did watch it when it came out, number one, totally different experience now, right? It is going to be. I have some takeaways watching it again, but there's so many things that just you now see it later and you're like, this was just really freaking cool. And I look back on it I think it was just the perfect storm. I think it happened at the perfect time. And I start thinking about how would you do it today? And I'm like, I don't know, man. It was really done well.
Yeah, it was. I mean, financially, it was done well as well. I mean, the majority of the production moved on to Pokemon. So you can only imagine, that the reference of what they did in that production moved on to bigger franchises, right? And that was a stepping stone, especially just the reference, like you just said. It's like going back in time and looking at that as a staple for sport karate, like we spoke about before.
Mm-hmm.
You can see everybody coming out of there. Even the choreography, even as choreography does evolve over time when you put wire work in, but ultimately those are the same beats, same timing. Even though there's bigger, powerful, and tricky movements, the way that they film, the way that they cut, the whole genre of what Pat Johnson and Isaac did, was amazing to frame us as American freestylists.
Right. Definitely.
So what's it like being a father watching it, and then you actually as a competitor watching? I mean, I have video of you getting autographs with Ernie Jr. in 1993. So it's
just geeked out about it
yeah,
too.
So your kids and sort of like reminisce.
All right, so here's some takeaways I had when I watched it. It was going back in time in a great way for many reasons. So one of the things that I really got to look at, and I went, okay, as I look at like the big move that takes out some of the guys is a spinning hook kick. Like, okay, that move would be elevated today. I understand that. Right. I get that. A lot of spinning hook kicks were thrown, a lot. All right. However, it made me appreciate martial arts better watching that show than watching somebody throw a corkscrew round kick, right? Like my brain can't comprehend if you're a purple belt, your brain can't comprehend a corkscrew round kick because you're like, I don't know what that is. All right. That was amazing. Right. But I can't see myself doing that. Watching Akeem Alston duck someone's kick and then high block and then body punch him, which he might have been one of the biggest like sellers of like just the theatrics, right? He was fantastic on the show, right? But it just made you appreciate martial arts. And so like even my son's like, Dad, this guy just does kung fu. And it's Larry Lamb. And you're like, but he's a Taekwondo guy, right? And he goes, no, Dad, said kung fu. And I'm like, you see him kicking in a circle? No kung fu guy do that. That's Taekwondo, man. What are you talking about? Right? But I'm like, he's loving it. He's like, oh, Dad, Warlock is coolest. And I'm like, I loved that they didn't just like the characters, but they also knew the names, like Jeff, like wrestling, right?
Yeah.
So it's the same. So you're like, this just became so cool, right? Yeah, I know he did kung fu, but you can't tell me kung fu guys did kicking
around the world
kicks. Yeah, around the world.
Yeah, exactly.
And that was the thing is at that time, Larry wasn't a competitor. Larry was kind of like, he was like in the top of doing like films. He was doing a lot of films, right? He was kind of like the extra guy. So this was really cool to see him, right, in this type of speaking role. Because in so many of the films that he was in, he didn't have speaking roles, right?
Exactly.
So this was really cool to see him do that. And
I think the last time I saw Larry compete was 94 Compete Nationals. But I don't know if that was exactly the last time, but he may have done maybe Vegas that year or something like that. But I know that was the last time that I saw him compete.
And who took that spot right after he left was Jamie.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Jamie took that spot. Yep.
For the American division.
Yes,
and
sir.
It's interesting, it's like 30 years later, we're having this conversation. It's like with the Oscars, right? The Academy Awards putting, best in stunt design, right? Remember, this is the platform where before WMAC Masters, it was Golden Harvest and it was Power Rangers. And both of those properties are not owned or were not really funded by, American funding and property, and production company. That's Golden Harvest. And obviously, the Power Rangers is, Japanese animation functions, right? So, but you're right. I mean, having a name associated with a character, and being able to tie that into licensing and I mean, it's pre-branding. You know, you think of it just music and, you know, labels and artistic expression. I mean, that was really setting the stage for where we are, you know, 3 decades later.
Correct.
Well, and the storyline was great. And I started thinking about it. I'm like, is this just appealing to kids? No, not. I don't think it was. I think I just, like, Jeff and I just happened to be kids at the time. Like, if you're a martial artist, this is appealing, right? That's just what it is. I don't see it really any different than the WWE. All right. Okay, it's never mind. Let me say this. It's more PG. It's more PG than the WWE.
Sure.
Right. I will say that. All right. So, but like it was really lightning in a bottle. And I say it like that because I think martial arts as a culture hit its height in the late 90s, right? Like right before, I would say like 97, maybe 98. That was when it was like, we're at the highest thing, right? And then about the early 2000s, it's just flooded everywhere. And there's just so many black belts. And I don't want to like discredit that. I don't want to be like a guy who's like poo-pooing on everything. But it did get to the point where it was like everybody did just kind of know somebody. All right. Like, oh yeah, I know this guy really kind of seems like a wimp. And we're like, oh, really? All right. And it just became to the point where it was like it wasn't sought after. It wasn't viewed as something that was super cool. Like if you knew someone who was a black belt, they're like the coolest person you knew, right? Right?
Correct.
And so this just because it was martial arts, like to look at that and go, oh, this person does Kempo or this person does that. Like my daughter watching Christine Bannon Rodriguez, you know, kicking, and she's like, Dad, I think I could kick like Lady Lightning. And I'm like,
that's wonderful.
Right there. This is like, it warms my heart just to like, this is like incredibly valuable. Right. But then even when Christine was on the show, I never told anybody this, that I wanted to kick like Christine when I was fighting. Like that's who I wanted to kick like. Yeah. And nobody really knew that. But I mean, maybe you can look at it in the kicking, but she was probably better than I was. Right. But yeah, it was just such a fun experience. I mean, everybody, all the characters. The only one, and this is funny. This is a funny thing.
And then we let Carmichael share what's going on, what the newest news is.
Zachary goes, hey, Dad, the Red Dragon, because that's Chris Casamassa. He goes, Red Dragon, I don't think he's that good.
Dang.
I'm like, well, wait, what do you mean? And he goes, I just don't think he's as good as like Tsunami. I don't think he's as good as Great Wolf. And I'm like,
interesting.
You're probably right. You're probably right.
Interesting.
That's awesome.
I mean, did you get to show him Mortal Kombat yet? And his Scorpion?
Oh, right.
No, I haven't showed it to him.
Yeah,
that is 100% coming.
Right.
Oh, no, wait, I take that back. I did show that because he was like, Dad, can I see, like, because you said these guys did karate tournaments. Can I see some of these guys? So we watched some of your clips, right? Okay. And then he wanted to see like Herb Perez. And I'm like, well, he did a different type of thing. And so like when he was watching clips of him knock guys out in Taekwondo, his eyes got super big. He was like, right, like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have shown a 6-year-old this. All right. Yeah, but it was cool. I mean, just because then it became like real life. He was like, all right, they do the same thing I do. This is so cool.
Yeah.
Right.
Let me just ask this question. I'll share, Jeff, everything. You know, what was the difference that you saw between the first season that Pat Johnson did versus the second season with Isaac? Did you see any difference the way that things were filmed or the way outside of the the storyline?
The storyline's the biggest thing, right? I would say the storyline's the biggest thing. The way it was filmed. But I think there was a comfortable predictability about the way the first season was filmed. Like, you kind of knew it was going to happen, all right? You knew there was going to be these two, matching up. They were going to go do whether they were in the alley or they were in the ghost town or wherever they were going to be. All right, and then the next two were going to go. And then eventually they were going to fight each other at the end. And then one of them would get closer to the dragon belt, all right? And they already knew that. They knew, like, that's what the format's going to be. Who are we going to see today? All right.
Yes.
And that actually became pretty cool. All right. I do think, I was obviously into it. Like, I want to see everything that's going. But I think it was reaching a little bit with the extra storyline and like who's going to be the bad guy. And the only reason I say that is because we never got to see, if there was a third season, I think then we'd be able to tell like what this really was. I think the second half of the second season was building up for the third season that never happened.
That's right.
So that was like, I can't really tell because it's this mystery third season that we all got robbed of.
And that's where I'll share what's happening now, right? Now,
let's go.
Jeff's saying it's we created WMAC with the trademark as a corporation, right? And you're dealing with basically 4 to 5 generations of martial artists, and most importantly, the foundation of the 90s. We never selected the 2000s and the 2010 Masters yet, and that's something that we need to do as an industry, and us collectively. In addition, right, outside of media and entertainment, martial arts as a lifestyle, deals with the common society, which is safety and security and health and wellness, right? And everybody has different facets in how they use martial arts in their life, and that's what we're going to continue to carry on. So today, we're proud to announce, outside of the website we've launched, a few weeks back, is our Kickstarter. So this Kickstarter is for the community. So this is really a representation of our community. Is throw that $20 in. That's really all I can say. The likes and the loves are great, but this is 30 years later, right? And if you guys believe in this brand and you feel as though that you want to see new content and you want to see this grow, just contribute. Put your pledge in so we can continue to make new content. We're heading to Orlando and Maya Convention to work on the docuseries, which is the quest for the next, as well as, where are they now, which is, let me find the new masters and let me share with you all what the legends are doing now. And then by the end of the year, we hope to launch the 26th episode, well, the first season really of what's already out there in YouTube, but put it on, fast streaming networks, and push it back out. So that'll cover the year. But in addition, like I said, we're going to be working on other, business units and making sure that we provide, health and wellness and safety and security, because there's a lot of masters who are still, they might not be directly involved in the martial arts competition or the studio or school system, but they're doing other things that are still contributing, with martial arts and supporting individuals with careers. And I think that's the testimony that you're also saying, Alex, is like, and Jeff, is like, after the 2000, right before 2000s is, we had a platform that just started with media, and now, with internet, with other opportunities with technology, there's technologists out there that there's people who are law enforcement. There's individuals who want to continue to, do their careers in the combat game or promote. So, I think there's other aspirations that WMAC is going to be able to provide, in support of all of our growth. So like I said, $20, just throw it in. I love the likes and the lows, but, at the end of this, it's follow through, everybody. Really follow through and support the community.
So can you get Scott, can you make sure you put the link in the comments while you're put that in there? I tried to do it earlier. I think it cut off, so I don't think it did the full one, but put that in there if you can, so people can check it out. All right, Alex.
That's going to help, because I would, obviously experiencing what I experience now, like, I'm in. Yeah. Put me down for some, right? Because we want to see that come, right? Like, literally, my kids are asking today, like, can we watch it again? Can we watch it again? Like, we can watch it again.
So go ahead, finish your statement. Go ahead.
Well, I'm just saying, like, it's things like that. Like when I say it happened at the perfect time, right? It happened when like martial arts, not a martial art, but just martial arts was so marketable, right?
Yes,
And everybody wanted it. They wanted a piece of. We wanted martial arts this. We wanted martial arts that. All right. It was video games. It was movies. It was anything. It was attire. I mean, you could go in a store without seeing karate pajamas. All right.
Right.
It was everywhere. Right. So that's what that when I say like it happened at the perfect time, like that's what I mean. It happened at the perfect time. The athletes may be better in areas today. Nothing like that. But if we could get something like that,
yeah, well, that's what I'm saying.
I'm in.
So again, the thing is now is like if you want to support something like this, especially if you're a parent, you are, supporting something that could be the future for your child or your, brother or sister, your instructor or your coach that your child is working under, right? There's a lot of different opportunities. It's more than just having another show, right, Carmichael? And I know we're not going to get to all of that today because we want to continue to keep sharing the different things, but we have the docuseries come out. We're trying to find the new ones. We're going to also create, like you said, figure out, hey, what happened within this 30 years? Let's show you these characters, right? There's so many things that we're excited to be a part of that WMAC is going to be pushing. So yeah, it's going to be wild.
Yeah. And I'll link a couple things for you guys. You can only imagine once the ecosystem opened up, there's publishing. Like there's a publishing team that is looking at all the social blogs and they're evaluating, content for themselves and, looking at the past footage and seeing where they want to take the Jaquito and who really stole the Dragon Star.
Right.
And that's something that, yes, we have writers that are involved in that. And you can only imagine the digital assets that come out of this, right? Outside of the merchandise that Matt Designs has done, Scott Menthe and Ariel Turno have done with the minifigs and continuing to do that for the new Masters. These digital assets, could one day become part of a game, because there's animators out there that would love to create, board games and video games because the property has come back to the martial arts.
Right.
And everybody has to understand that this was in the studio sitting on the shelf for almost 25 plus years. And now the martial arts industry, I'm talking about all collective martial arts, we have it back now. And that is that PG, that MA14, so we can cross the cusp with regards to WWE and UFC now. So put something right in the middle, and that will help support the generations and support the families that are invested in martial arts.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it, man. Well, thank you, Carmichael.
Thank you.
We are excited to see, the future and be a part of it and help push this forward, so go and support and we'll keep sharing and donating and having you on and can't wait to hear what's next. So,
all right.
Awesome,
I can't wait to hear back from you two on the other conversations.
Oh, yes, sir. Don't you worry.
And then when it's time, we're going to figure out and poll your audience to see what kind of shows they want to and content they would like to see.
Oh, yeah. Yes. I'd be into that. Okay.
See, I mean, everybody already knows what they want to see. It's just, check boxing and making sure that, we're also in the right trajectory, that we're providing the content that our industry would love to consume.
Yes, sir.
I'm in.
Yes, sir. I love it.
Scott. Yes.
Yep.
He'd bite on it. I hope he would.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. See you soon, Carmichael.
Take care.
What a guy.
Oh, I know. I love it. I love it. This is going to be awesome. I'm excited that Inside Scoop Martial Arts Center Network gets to be a part of this. And, guys, go check out Scott Menthe is putting the Shopify as well as the Kickstarter, all those in there. Go and check these out. And then when you guys are in Orlando at the Maya Conference, or if you are for the U.S. Open, make sure you go check out their booth. Go talk to them. Send the website has where you can, send your audition in, and they're gonna do live auditions at WMAC Masters booth. So get ready. All right, it's gonna be great. All right, man. Are you ready for this?
How are we gonna do this?
It is cooking, Sam. I know. All right. So listen, this may be similar. I'm gonna tell you guys how stressed out I've been. Alex and I have been stressed out over this the past few weeks. I'll be honest with you. This is a difficult one. And you know what though? Like that just shows how
It's
much
coming back big time.
we really enjoy it and enjoy martial arts. And I tell you what,
Where's Travis? Travis told us to do this.
Yeah,
Let
I
the
know,
two of
I
us
know.
just stressed and sweating bullets.
So there's a lot of
Ugh.
different topics that we can go on this, right? But before we get into the list, like who are some of the ones? Let's look at some things that we have to look at, right? And maybe just, of course, we go. You know where this all began. Where does Bailey go? We're gonna get that at the end, right? Close. Let's get maybe once. Maybe it depends, right? But let's do like you and I had a topic about who are some of these top super lightweights that maybe would make your top 25, right? Because again, for me, like you and I thought that's a very difficult one, right? Especially when you talk it, top 25 again of all time. Now, here's the deal: both of our lists, we probably don't have too many from the 70s, right?
Spoiler alert: I don't have anybody from the 70s.
Yeah, so I do, right? I have late 70s, but so again, we are missing people like Bill Wallace, like Joe Louis, like Jeff Smith, like Howard Jackson, who were great, even,
Billy
Mr. Worley, right? Pat, we have different ones like that. Skipper Mullins, all those guys.
And everybody gives guys like those love, as they absolutely should.
Yeah.
Like every time we talk about a top list, I hear Skipper Mullins like often.
Yeah, often, yes. Yes. So I mean, Dominic Valera, like a lot of these guys, that it's just that are legends. And this is something I've talked about, but I've never shown it. Oh, I hope it's still in here. And I told you about it. But like this martial arts catalog that I have, right? And this thing is beat up. Look at this. All right. And literally right now I turn it. What's funny? And it's Joe Louis beating up someone at the USKA Nationals. All right. Grand Nationals in like the 60s. Okay.
Yeah.
And there's so many, like this is, and it has a whole thing of sport karate. All right. Back then. And it tells, and we're going to get into this sometime about some of the best stories it has on there of like, what was the most money advertised as a prize money, but never actually given? That's a funny story. And that, yeah.
And
so
it's
there's
in
a lot
there?
It's in there. It's in there. Yeah.
So,
So that would be something I'll have to share sometime. But all right, super lightweights
changed in the last 60 years then.
Correct. So who are some super lightweights that you guys think should make the top 25? Do you want to, so you and I, when I asked this question earlier in our test, we kind of said the same three, right? We said as far as that could be, or that we would say would be the best three now.
They're going to be in there.
Yeah, they're going to be in there, right? Again, we talked Robbie Lavoie. We speak, of course, Tony Young, and another one that it could be right there of that is a Manny Reyes Jr., right? Those three, to me, are the top three super lightweights. Now, are there other ones that have had amazing careers and been close to that? Are there some other ones that you guys think you would put in there? Or maybe let's just say a top, who are some other ones that maybe need some recognition on that part for super lightweights? Because again, we're talking about Tony Young at a point where he was the best super lightweight, the best lightweight, and he's losing the nasty, but continuously, right? And he's getting himself all the way up there.
Yeah.
At a time that's completely different, hitting hard, right? He has to really connect to hit. In this day, it's a lot different, with that, right? So who are some other ones that you guys think? That Ski is a great super lightweight, one of the best. Yes.
Yeah, that's a great one. Like I fought Ski one time, and one of the things that what I like about him is like he's hard to catch, right? If he wants to move and make you miss, like it's gonna happen. right? But I love how he can turn on a dime too. And Willie is kind of like a little bit like that too, where you'll be thinking that like you're the guy chasing after him, and then like as soon as he turns, like it's almost like he gets a look and you're like, oh crap.
Yeah.
Now I gotta run, right?
Right.
Yeah, because he's not one of the lightweights that will just like tag and run, right?
Right.
He'll
No.
stick and move, but a move like he's moving, like just he's moving but not running.
Yeah, you're right.
He's moving, not running. It just doesn't stop moving.
Dude, I just, I saw him, and I'm just gonna say it. I felt like he beat Pedro Xavier, and this was at the '97 Ocean State Grand Nationals, and I was just like, dude, that's one of my new favorite fighters. Yeah, and it was '97. It was amazing, and this dude was just fighting his butt off. So, and this was, if this was actually what's funny. Dallas has the hairdo that Ski had then, right? He had a lot longer hair. When a lot of you guys probably saw Ski, it was bald and shaved, and tight. So when I saw him, completely different. So, all right. So those are the three we would say, right? All right. So I just want to talk about that part now. Where do we put the European fighters? Who are some European fighters that you guys feel are in that top 20, top 10, top 25? I have some in there. I probably should have more, but I mean, it's hard, right? It's very
Here's
difficult.
what I will say. Here's a spoiler
some names, insiders.
This is someone I thought like you can put him on an honorable mention if you want, but I don't have Michael Page in my top 25. Okay. In Michael Page, right. I didn't think that you would, but we'll just talk about it. Okay. So Michael Page just put up highlight reels upon highlight reels. And a lot of times you put him up against scrubs. He put up highlight reels against cheeseburgers, right? And but it does, and I'm like, but does that mean he's not a crazy athlete? Because he is,
right?
And he's super long, super lean, super strong, obviously athletic, can do all the moves, hitting guys with 720s in a freaking continuous fight. Like, what in the world, right? So you're like, okay. But when he went to compete in the States against the guys who really wanted to like give it to him, like he didn't come up, right? And I'm like, oh, well, that's a bummer, right? And I'll never forget this. It was Ocean State, and I'd like cut weight. I did that every now and then at this time. I'm like, oh, I want to be light heavyweight. No, I want to be middleweight. I had identity issues as far as my weight went, right? And I remember Greg Betlock was in light heavyweight. Michael Page is in the light heavyweight. And I remember Garth Binns kind of went up to him. I was about to go talk to Greg. This is Paul Mitchell time for Greg. And Garth Binns looks at him and he goes, man, you better give it to this guy. Because they kind of looked at him like, he's the outsiders, let's represent the US. Let's get him, right? Totally get that, right? And he doesn't make it. And I think he lost. No, I don't think he did lose to Bobby Wallace. Oh, no. I take that back. No. Completely different. No. He knocked out Bobby Wallace with a 360 round kick to the face the day before.
Okay.
No. Yeah. It was a great kick. And Bobby didn't want to be in that fight, right? And then Michael saw that. But then like he lost to Julio. He lost to Julio Lugo, right?
Okay.
He lost to Julio Lugo, right? And it was like, oh, now shade against Julio Lugo. I love Julio Lugo. But at that time, Michael Page was better, right? And I think Julio knew that, right? But Julio beat him. And it's like, okay, well then I guess I can't really put you there, right? So I'm definitely not putting Julio Lugo in the top 25, right? So like, because the guys in the top 25, they don't fall the guys who aren't also in that top 25. Everyone takes L's. Everyone takes L's. This stuff happens. But the best of the best, they take L's to other guys who are at the best, right? Right. Yeah. If you're going to be one of the best, right, and you want to beat one of those guys, you win the rest of the tournament. right?
Cool.
You don't go out the next round to a guy who took 3rd place last weekend,
Right.
So
yeah, I mean, I think guys, I want to hear some of the names that you think should be. I mean, we have people from the 80s, the early 90s that high names, like we talked last week about Alfie Lewis. We got people like obviously Zolt, right, that is up in there, that conversation. You got, where do you put Elijah at for his run that he did? That was like a 3-year run, but then run on top, but he also had a long period of time before that where he was a top player over there, and he was also after that too. So I mean, you're trying to figure that out, where that's at. You got someone maybe like let's say a Roman Brundle. You got someone, maybe some people would say Matt Winsper's the best European fighter they've ever seen, right? And you have some of the guys, like what we talked about, Mighty, right?
Yeah.
So you're talking about him. I mean, there's so many that are in that list that you could do. And here's one thing before we move on. Bramadan Man is putting out the 1997 Waco World Championships that he has out, and the 2003 he's putting out. He's put out a bunch of old Waco World Championships where you get to see like Preston go against guys from Italy, and Jody and Reggie and Tony Young and Peaches. All these different ones that are going against, and it's pretty neat. It's pretty cool to see what it was like then. All right, seeing the growth of the European fighter and also just the differences from that time. So go check that out. A lot of times, I think mostly it's on Facebook right now. So go and check out that page, and they've been doing it for years. Bramadan Man's like the sport martial arts, for our area. So
I can't remember his full name. It's Danny something. I can't remember. All right.
Yeah, I had it on the top. Yeah, I don't know why I can't remember, but all right. So
how do we do this thing? Are we
so
just gonna?
You want to go right into the 25, or I'm actually want to say like people that I left off, because I think it's kind of like I just I mean we do this every week with our other list. We do an honorable mention. I'm not going to say that, but I'm going to tell you like the 5 that almost made it. And honestly, some of them were on my list. Some of them were on my list, and then got off, and then back on, and they got and honestly, there's people in here that are probably some of my favorite fighters that aren't on this list, right? It's just because we're looking at this not as our favorite 25, but who we think were the best.
You don't have Jack Felton
based
on
on
your
the
list,
results, right? What do you say?
You don't have Jack Felton on your list?
We'll go there another time.
Of course you do. As you should. We'll figure out where he lies.
Well, I think so, yeah. And then there's some other people that were very successful, but it's hard to compare them on this list with everybody, right? So there's some people I left off, and honestly, it kills me to even say it. So, Ronald Brady, Mafia Holloway, Roman Brundle, Manny Reyes Jr., Brian Ruth. Those are ones that were right outside of mine. So if those 5 right there were outside, I mean,
on my list. This is
and all those were on your list?
No, not all of them. Some.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I mean that kills me even to say some of that. So I don't know, man. It's tough on this because you're looking at people and their results from now, right? You're looking at their results from 10 years ago. You're looking before that too.
Look at a full career.
The full career, man. And so it's wild. And honestly, one of the person that was out, I actually added him back in because of that whole mindset that, you know what? This dude's longevity is insane. And you got to look at their whole career, right? And you know what? There are some Latin American that we probably didn't put on here, right? And you know we probably should. Is there someone that you could think of Latin American wise that maybe not top 25, but someone on the greatest of all time list, like it's hard to say because who was really competing on that, like for me, I think of as far as one of the best I've seen from that would be Juancho from Guatemala. That would be one of the best. I mean, because he beat a lot of high level fighters and a lot of people who had a really hard time with him. So that would be someone I would think of, but it's difficult, and also Roberto Perez, who a lot from Mexico really view him as one of the greatest of all time as well. He was the first one to win like a world championship outside of Mexico. So, all right.
But to answer Sam's first question, like I actually like this question. Like, who was the hardest hitting lightweight? Like 2 names pop in my head.
Okay, I got
Kevin Thompson was probably one of them, and probably Hamid.
I'd say Marty Eubanks.
Ooh,
yeah. I know, George. I know it's killing me. I know. So yeah,
my 25. I got like 3 names that I want to use in my 25th spot.
Yeah, I know. All right, so do we want to go? Let's go. You do 25 through 20, and I'll do my 25 through 20.
No, I think
what do you mean?
We
No,
just gotta do it because there's
no, that's lame.
We're gonna be repeating names.
So what? Like it's we got to build this thing up, man. Let's go.
But wouldn't it be incomplete unless we can like explain why they're there, who they didn't go ahead of, things like that? Are we jumping around then?
No, I think if we do it that way, man, it's just going to be you talking for 25 minutes, then me talking for 25 minutes.
Good. You don't want me to go on too long. This is true.
Just saying.
All right. So why don't you go 20 to 25 then?
Okay, I'm going to go my 25th. And again, it can be considered low for him, but again, one of the most longevity competitors ever, still competing to this day, Terry Kramer, is 25 on my list. He also had that. Remember when I talked about the Triple Crown, where he was one of the last ones I remember doing, he came up to me at Rhode Island and said, "I wasn't a senior when I did that. I was in the 18. That was for winning the heavyweight grand at those 3 tournaments." So that definitely like made my mind change of, whoa, all right, this dude, yeah, it wasn't, and I don't know why I thought senior grand. I have no idea. But so again, Terry Kramer, 24. We mentioned him before, Robbie Lavoie. So I got him in there for 24. 23, I have Kevin Walker. Kevin Walker, I think on what he has accomplished, the grands that he has won, the high level events that he has won, and the people he has beaten, he is on there in that top 25. 22, and honestly, man, this is a hard one because I think I have him at 22, but he could probably be a lot higher. And he was one of the best from the West Coast, and he did it in the NBL circuit and the NASCA circuit, and is now, one of the highest level coaches there is, and that's Damon Gilbert. So I have him as 22 on there. 21, the person who he sits behind all the time and coaches, Cameron Dawson. I have him at 21. I think just over the past, 6-7 years, the accomplishments he has had, the leadership he has had, the championships he's won, and the people that he has inspired. So it was 21, and then 20 is Ahmed Farouzi for me. So I think a level at a time, he was the best lightweight, and like we said, he couldn't get past Ross, but once maybe, and that was before they had, if they had a lightweight overall like they have now, this guy would have just as many as maybe some of the other people that we talk about today. So that would be my 25 to 20.
We are pretty dang close.
See, that's what I'm saying.
And we're almost pretty dang close on the exact number too. One of them we're right on. So I will go 25 to 20. Here's what we got. 25, I have Kevin Thompson. Okay. We already talked about one of the hardest hitting lightweights of all time.
Yes.
At 24, I have Donald Brady. All right.
Okay.
Donald Brady, obviously, we say them synonymously, like Donald Brady, Ronald Brady. All right. I do think Donald did have a longer career, right?
That's true.
And I do think Donald was just they're different fighters, all right? They are different, right?
Yeah.
Completely, all right? And I think Donald was better, all right? Not trying to make a competition between the two. At 23, I also have Kevin Walker for the exact same reasons you mentioned, right?
Yeah.
At 22, Cam Dawson, all right? You had him at 21, I have him 22.
Yep.
Here's where we get different.
All right.
At 21, I have Roman Brundle.
Okay.
And Roman would just, I think the only person who really had like an answer, like, I got Roman. I got it. He can't score. Is Jack Felton.
Yeah.
I think everybody else, like, he had you, or like it was like even with Raymond, like Raymond got him, but then there was times where like Raymond did not get him, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was like it was very, very difficult.
It is.
And then he just stopped.
Yeah, and I think that's the hard part for me is looking at like his run, right? His run was very short. And it was like, so where do you put that with other, now, I mean, let's go in it while we're talking about. It's very they're not comparable in their styles of fighting, not at all.
No.
But him and Elijah's runs are very comparable on as far as that, right? But when Elijah, I don't remember Roman on a run like what Elijah had where he didn't lose, right? And where he was spreading people left and right. But he did spread people a lot. I mean, I will never forget Battle of Atlanta. What was that, 2015?
What he did to Jason Grenier.
And what he did to
they just changed
what he did to Zolt, like, and what he did to everybody that weekend.
What did everybody?
Yeah, right? It was insane. So no.
Well, funny you should bring up that analogy because at 20 I have Elijah Averill.
Okay.
Right. And so like, and that's fitting. Like if I'm gonna have one, I better have the other. Right.
Yeah.
If my explanation is to have this one in, I can't leave the other out. Right.
Correct.
I gotta have the same mindset. Right.
Correct.
And so that's my 20-25.
All right. So see, that worked out well.
It did. Very good. You did a great job, Jeff. Great job.
All right. So
and happy Cinco de Mayo, everybody.
Happy Cinco de Mayo. All right. So we're going now 19 to 15. Is that what we're doing? 15 and 19?
Yeah, I guess.
Let's do it. Let's do it. All right. So 19 for me. So who did I say? My 20 was Ahmed, right?
Yeah.
So similar to kind of how you put Roman and Elijah back to back, I put these two because they're kind of in the same realm. But Jack Felton to me it was 19. So because Ahmed and Jack were at that same time, Ahmed won a lot of overalls, right? Jack was that person who, like we talked about before, no matter for many years, no matter what, he was in a point where he was always the top 4 best fighter at the tournament, like what you talked about last week, right? And no matter what, he was always one of the tops. And so to me, he also is in a weird thing where he's a lightweight, but he fights in the middleweight, light middle, right? And so, dude, he is one of my favorite fighters. I got 3 top favorite fighters. He is definitely one of my favorite fighters, okay, of all time. I would say as far as the most recent fighters, yeah. But
this is the biggest shock of the whole thing. I have Jack Felton on my list much higher than what you do. I cannot believe this.
So, and again, this isn't favorite. I'm looking at results and stuff like that. So again, I think.
But the guy, here's what. Wait, we got to pause it.
No, I know
compared him to Hamid
because he's won so many overalls in a lot of different other places, right? But when you're talking about
Hamid hit his peak,
yes,
Jack was already the guy, and after Hamid left, Jack was still the guy.
He was, but again, like.
I think you realized you made a blunder.
On the NASCAR realm, he would beat all these people and then lose at the overall, right? We saw that many times.
So it was the same with Hamid.
Okay, you're right on that part. Okay, well, I have him higher than Hamid. So
you do have him higher than Hamid. I just think you should have him a little bit more, a little bit higher.
Yeah. All right, so I got 19. 18 to me is Mike Pombero, who I feel like is the person who really is the person who Jack looked to, who Raymond looked to
100%
as guidance, right? And this guy was one of the best, honestly, in that time of the 90s when there wasn't really the overalls that much, right? It was just the middleweight. To me, he was the middleweight king, but you also had high-level people like him. You have Reggie Perry in there. You have Jesse Ray in there. You have Preston Clemens in there. All these guys, right? So,
Paco, we talked about this. You're not wrong,
We
Paco.
talked about this. No, you're not. And I actually mentioned their names too. So,
yeah,
but
we
again,
mentioned a lot of the names. Thank you so much for jumping in.
All time. So, so yes, there's a lot of great names on there. And we're not just mentioning America because we have a lot lot of others on there as well.
It just happens to be the guys we're mentioning at this point in our section.
Yeah.
Because
yeah,
some of these guys that you brought up, I already mentioned, and some are coming up. Some are coming up.
All right. So I just said 18, right? All right. So 18, 17. 17 for me is Elijah Everell.
Okay. So you had him higher than I did. Okay.
Yes. So 17 on that. 16. And again, I think this is low, but honestly, at some point I had to just say, all right, this is what we're doing. And 17 for me is Trevor Nash. Or sorry, 16 for me is Trevor Nash. So Trevor Nash, really, again, another one of my favorite fighters, dominant in a lot of ways. But, we've also seen him. We've talked about him do just crazy stuff sometimes, right? I think when he was, probably in the past 10 or 15 years, if he was more consistent, I don't know if anyone would have more wins than this guy, right? I'm just saying, I don't know, So
but when he was never gone, right? He is now, right?
Right.
But he was never gone because he'd do like
one tournament every 2 years.
One tournament that year,
right?
2 tournaments the next,
right?
And it'd be like a semi populated tournament, and then it would just be like the diamonds, right? But whatever one he entered,
he
just won it.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So
so I have him there, and again, you know what? Maybe it's because I hold that 90s, that 80s. I don't want it to be like, oh, I just put all the 2000s people up there, because you know what?
That is the last 25 years.
Yeah. So 16 Trevor, 15 is Richard Plowden. So Richard Plowden, I think one of the greatest fighters of all time, one of the greatest minds in our sport. Again, one of the best coaches in our sport. But the way that he competed all over and continually, competed into his later years and winning overseas, winning, diamonds at what year was it?
92.
Was it 92? Yeah, 92.
It was 1992. That was
so
first diamonds. I remember.
Amazing.
That.
So that's my top 15 right there. I mean, my 15 to 25. So
I can't wait to see what your top list looks like, because I had a lot of the names you mentioned, I got much higher up.
Yeah.
So let's go with my 15 to 19. At 19, I have Hamid Fauzi. So one spot up from where you have him. So not that far off.
Yeah.
Hamid Fauzi, for everything you mentioned, I got him there. Here is where we get to shocking. At 18, I have Brian Ruth, who you don't have on your list.
I don't have my list. Yeah.
So crazy to me, because
I know it's crazy.
Brian was competing in the adults that we all knew when he was 15, just crushing guys. Wasn't really winning, right? But when he was actually of age as an adult and was competing in the adults, he had entered this cheat code of physical dominance. He's just so incredibly fast. He hit so hard. He could do every move. The guy even did forms, right?
Right.
And if you would say Brian,
he went on like a 4-year run. Really, it was more like a 2-year run. And then he also had some good success over that next 2 or 3 years.
Yes. So, but Brian Ruth did leave and come back. And then, but when he would come back, he would just be so feared, right?
Yeah.
For those who don't really know, all right, if you think Cam Dawson put the fear in people, and he does, Brian Ruth was worse.
That too.
Brian was worse, right? So, that's my 18. 17, I have Terry Kramer, right? Terry Kramer won way too much. Sometimes I feel like, did I have him too low? really start to think of that.
Well, I think that too, with that, but I also just remember it's hard because you know what, we all know who our number one and number two probably is, right? So when we're talking about going against, you have these guys that are in the heavyweights, like him and Terry Kramer. I mean, Richard Plowden and Terry Kramer in a division with Nasty. Sometimes that gets overlooked a lot, like who really won, who, I think so. Maybe that hinders us on like the accomplishments that they could have had, right?
Well, and that's why I say sit down and just talk to him, right?
Yep.
You just sit down and talk to him. Terry's not a super talkative guy, but he'll talk, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Anthony Price he'll talk, right?
Right. Hey, I had him 25 though, Leandro, but so he had him higher than I did. So
and
yeah.
Okay. That's 17. 16, I have Robbie Lavoie, right? Probably the longest career of all super lightweights, right?
I don't know about that.
You don't know about that? When did he
enter
the adults in like
Tony had just as long.
Didn't he enter the adults in like 2004?
Yeah, Robbie did. Yeah, and he retired last year, so 20 years. Yeah. So I would think Tony was about the same.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think it was about the same. I think he said like 77, 78 to 97 was when he retired. But I think he still did so it was about the same.
All right.
You're at 16, right? That was your 16.
That was 16. 15, Mike Bombero. So we're pretty close on all of these. All right. And I think Mike P is just cooler than the other side of the pillow. Right.
Yeah.
He's just that skilled, that good. Talk about a long career too. Right.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't his last event, or wasn't it like 2017?
Well, yeah, but I mean, he took some year. He took like 5-6 years off, then came back, right? Yeah.
But then when he came back, he was a competitor, right? He wasn't just there, right?
And Brett, you make a good point on that.
I never saw him fight seniors,
but at the same time, that wasn't an option for some of those people. Once in the 90s, like let's say Anthony Price, he didn't have a choice. He had to fight in the seniors. Whatever your age was, that's what you had to fight. So that part's a little different when we're trying to compare. But also, I never saw Tony Young fight seniors. I'm just saying that too. So when so all right. Where are we? Oh, so now I'm at 14. So 14 to 10. Yep. Oh man. Well, let's go 14 to 11, and then we say our top 10. Yeah, because that would just be
there.
Weird.
We go.
All right. So I had Richard at 15. So who do you think I'm going to have at 14?
No.
I have Avery at 14. So right there. Avery really could be a top 10 of all time, but I hold some of these guys from the 90s and the late 70s and early 80s because of what they did as being a number one fighter for 2 or 3 years is a big deal. But I think Avery 14, you know what? For someone, what's crazy is how he's similar to how we talked about with, like Trevor or someone that, like when he shows up, he's going to win and then he's gone. And then he shows up and he may be in the top 2 or 3 and then he's gone. And then he, and it's just like, this dude is dominant.
But ever since he's been around, there hasn't been a year where you haven't seen him fight.
Right.
Ever since he's entered the adults, we have not been robbed of a year of seeing Avery Plowden fight.
Well, except when everyone, I know, but
okay, except for the year that was canceled.
Yeah, but again, like Avery really came on big time in that 2018, 2017, 2018, 2019 realm. So, which also 2019 was probably Cam's best year, right? So we're talking about these two guys, and now we're finally getting to see them fight each other. Because remember how long we were talking like, how come these guys aren't fighting at the same tournament? We're never seeing them get to fight each other. So really interesting with that. So I have Avery there at 14. 13 is someone, and again, I have him on this list because of the legendary status that he has. He was a number one fighter for several years, and that's number one overall. and from the late 70s, early 80s, and that's Ray McCollum. So Ray McCollum, to me, one of the greatest of all times, a Texas legend. He kept fighting for years and years. And in a blood and guts era, man. I mean, just a gritty era, you know. So number 13. Number 12 for me, and again, this I feel like this guy could be known as the greatest fighter of all time. But again, he also could be like, I've seen him dominate for a year, and then I've seen him lose a bunch, you know,
No, don't
two
put
people.
him there.
So
Don't
so
put
I
him
had
there.
Jody Tension at 12. Yeah. So so Jody is my 12. My 11, where am I at? My 11 Dems. My 11 is Alfie Lewis. So again, I may be completely wrong here with this. He may be a top 10 fighter. For me as someone in States, I haven't gotten to see him as a bunch, but Alfie Lewis with, again, a win over Nasty Anderson, all the wins he had in Waco, also that he won in, like, I think he won Wuko as well. And just the way that he has pushed the sport. So so I have 14 Avery, 13 Ray McCullum, 12 Jody, 11 Alfie Lewis.
Oh boy. Okay. Well, I don't know what you have left in your top 10. Like, I don't what. Okay.
All right, let's
here
go.
we go. At 14, I have Tony Young. Right? We've mentioned everything we've mentioned about Tony Young.
Mhm.
We could say this is too low, and you could make the argument for that. And I could be swayed, right? At 13, I have Anthony Price, right?
Mhm.
Anthony Price was just that guy, right? Came in with all the attitude, all the skill, all the power, ready to win everything. Here's where it changes dynamic and years a little bit. At 12, I have Zolt Murati.
Okay.
And at 11, I have Trevor Nash. We have them on our list. Where did you have Trevor?
I had Trevor at 16. Yeah.
Way too low.
Yeah.
Entirely too low. Notice there's a name I haven't mentioned that you mentioned that has just shocked me.
What?
I haven't mentioned Jack Felton, which means I got him in my top 10, and you don't. That's what I don't understand.
Yeah. Well,
so
listen.
Yeah, Zolt Murati, I think, has earned. Yeah. He's won every award. I think that's when you're talking about what we're talking about. We're talking about careers, right?
Right.
We can't just put them in a bottle and say, man, at the 1 year this guy was out and he beat everybody. Yeah, well, we can't do that, right?
Right.
Because that's not really fair for a guy who fought 20 years,
Yeah, I mean, Zolt, like the career he had, not just in Europe, but for him to come over here and do it at that high level. Yeah, we will try to do that, Will.
We'll post it, Will. I don't know how. We'll figure it out.
While we're on it, he's my number 10. So Zolt was 10 for me.
Okay.
Because of that, like, it's hard to say, like, the guy is not just talented, but the wins he had, the career he had, the people he beat, like, literally he beat all the best in his era, right? I mean, he beat every one of the best of his era, and did it here and did it in Europe. So I put him at 10. Number 9 for me is Tony Young. So again, Tony Young, the longevity, and for me, it's the era that he fought in as a super duper lightweight fighter, right? And it's like, dude,
what weight did he really fight at?
I mean, back then,
he had to be in like the 130s, 140s.
Yeah, but I think
you look at
the lightweight was just 155 under or something like that, or 150 and under.
Yes, but if you look at the tape, he looked little.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, Travis. All right. So I have 9 there. 8. Oh, you don't get to sit. Never mind. Anyways, 9. So for me, the person that I think Tony really, again, when you're in the Southeast, people hold this guy at a high level. Yeah, he was super light, but what I'm telling you is like the super lightweight, even in the 80s, it wasn't as light as it is now, right? So for me, 8 is Keith Vitelli. Keith Vitelli was the #1 fighter for I think 3 years running. He was the guy that pushed everyone in the Southeast to go to that next level. He won, some of the first, championships. He won the first grand championship at the Diamonds. He won, he won everything, and he was that person that inspired everyone. So number 8 for me was Keith Vitelli. 7 for me is the person that most people think is the greatest kicker of all time. And he's just freaking amazing. And he had some of in the 90s, he probably was known as probably the best, but I don't know if he was the overall best fighter, because we didn't get to see it as much in the 90s as we did in the 80s and the 2000s of all of them go against each other. There's only about 2 tournaments back then that had overall grand championships at a high level. So, 3. So, Pedro for me is number 7. Number 6 is another one that, like I said, I have at top 3. Actually, Pedro is in that top 3 of my favorite all time, but this is my other top 3 favorite of all time, and it's Jason Borelli. So he's at my number 6. The guy was the only person to really have Raymond's number. He was at a certain point, right? He also liked Raymond at the time, which is what I think made it so fun to be around in that era. Was him and Raymond were the most active fighters too.
100%.
They were every freaking where, right? And I think that's what makes Tony so great. Tony Young so great. He was everywhere, right?
They were the most active, and the only one that kind of had an answer for them was Jotty Tension.
Right, exactly. You're right. And Jotty was really, there was a few that had some wins, over, like, I'm going to tell you, Brian Plimple, who, another one of my favorite fighters, was not on my list, but because his run was very short, right?
Yeah.
But he had a very good record over Jason with Jason. So Jason, just the play, like a lot of people call him the Michael Jordan of karate, is what a lot of people called him as, right? He was from Chicago. His just athletic ability was amazing. When we were in Quebec one year, the first year that all CJB went there, and he is dropping people, hitting people in continuous fighting, and all the Canadians out there speaking French, calling him Tyson. He's just, he's been everywhere. The guy not only has lived everywhere, but he's fought everywhere. So
he
Jason
has had a lot of addresses across the continental U.S.
Yes. All right. So, let's go. You're going to go.
You gonna stop there?
Kevin.
You must. If you're just chiming in now, Kevin, you missed being on the list. We both had you on our top 25. So
yes,
you have to go back and rewatch it. Okay. Yep. So you're ending at 5. You're not going to continue your 10, but that's all right.
No. We're doing 5 at a time. So I did 10 to 6.
All right. I'll do that.
Yep.
All right. 10 to 6 at number 10. Okay. No, number 11 was Trevor Nash. My number 10 is Jack Felton. Right.
So you have Jack at 10. I know. I had him at 19, and he's my favorite fighter of all time. I know, but
yeah, can't believe you didn't have him at least in top 15.
Right, but you got to look at some of the people I put on there and you didn't. Like I put Ray McCullum on there. I put Keith Vitelli. I put a lot of the old school fighters on there. Right. So.
Yeah. It's Jack dang Felton.
I know, bro.
He can do it all. He's done it all, and he's done it for so many dang years.
All right.
So when we make the argument, hang on. When we make the argument about Jack, like didn't win it. Who was it to? All right. There's one big name.
Right.
There's one big name, but he has beaten him
who's not been on the list.
Sure, there's a couple. Yeah, okay. There's like a James Poor year for something like that. Like, sure, he caught lightning in a bottle. Oscar caught lightning in a bottle, but we never saw those guys again. All right. Yeah, Jack would have those things where sometimes those things would happen. But so Jason Borelli. Jason Borelli would give people jobs. He got people jobs.
We've seen that. We've seen it. Well, you're right on that. Well, yeah, but he gave people jobs just who got close to him a lot of times.
You're right. But Jack would do that too. Listen.
And you know who another one was that did that? Regina Thompson was one. Man, she gave a lot of people roster spots on teams like Victory and
I'm going to say this right out. I'm going to call out names. All right. I'm going to call out names this time. Okay. Sometimes we do this. We don't call out names. I'm calling out names. Okay. So this is in the Hayabusa days. Okay. So talking to Sam, and he's like, yeah, man, we got another Canadian on the team. I know I say this to Sam. I'm like, shocker, another Canadian on the team coming from you. Ha ha ha. He's like, nah, this guy's really good. And I'm like, yeah, who is he? He's like, Nathan Skoufis. And I'm like, I don't know who this is. And he goes, he does a lot of NBL. And I'm like, okay. And he goes, but like he almost beat Jack at the Diamonds. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like that would have been a storyline. Like, what do you mean? And he goes, he kicked Jack in the head twice. And I am like, all right, that is not an easy task to do. If Roman Brundle couldn't do it once, right? How's this guy going to do it? Like, oh, okay.
Right.
But I never saw Nathan Skoufis kick anybody after that. And that's all Nathan Skoufis does. All right.
All right. What's our next? No. I love it.
That was number 10 is Jack Felton. Number 9. You had him on your list way too low. I have Richard Plowden at number 9. Okay. Richard Plowden, the architect of so many great fighters. Right. Yeah. First person I ever saw win a major championship. Right. Richard Plowden is that guy. Number 8. Right. A lot of people call him the greatest kicker of all time. He's up there. He's high on the list. Pedro Xavier, number 8. Okay. Mm-hmm. Number 7.
I had him 7. You had him 8. Yeah.
Number 7, we got the super fighter, Jody Tension.
Right. And I had him. You had him 7. I had him lower. Yeah. So I know.
And then I can't believe you had this guy that low. Number 6 is Avery Plowden.
All right. So like, what I'm trying to figure out is like the people that I had lower, like who, like I'm trying to figure out how you replaced them all. Like, where did I put them and who am I putting? Because we're still looking like we have the same people. That's where, I guess there's like the guys like Vitelli and McCullum. Who is it that I have my list that you don't have yours? That's what's crazy to me. It's like, oh, you don't have Alfie on there.
I don't.
So like, there's some of those fighters, right? You didn't have Damon. Or you did? No, you didn't.
I didn't have Damon.
Yeah. Okay.
But where did you have him? 21?
22. Yeah.
22. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. Interesting.
Jeff, you don't have Brian Ruth.
I know.
And I have Brian.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm looking at the list right now.
I literally have him at 26. Like I have him at 26.
But that's only, I mean, right now I'm looking at the list and comparing them, and I'm just looking at it.
Yeah, I know. That's the hard one.
It's crazy to me, some of the ones that I have on that Jeff doesn't.
Roman's not on yours either, Jeff.
No, he's not.
Yeah, I don't have him super high. I mean, 21 is where I got him.
Yeah, it's just, again, like look at someone like Ray McCullum's career, who was a lot longer than that, and a Keith Vitelli that was a lot longer than that, and then the era that they were in, so.
I'll show you guys the list when it's all said and done.
Awesome.
Right. All right. So was that so you're on your top 5 now, right?
Avery was number 6.
Okay. All right. So number 5.
Let's see it. We've been waiting to see his.
I want you guys to alternate on the top 5. So each person says 5, and you say your 5.
He does his 5. I do my 5.
Yeah.
All right, Jeff, you go.
So my 5 is the question that we talked about. So after looking at it, my 5 is Bailey. So yeah, so I have Bailey at 5. And
that is also my 5. That is my 5.
All right, so we settled right there at 5.
I think it's the only one we have the same.
Pretty much, yeah. That's wild. We had someone else the same. I forgot. I think actually we had Kevin the same or something like that.
We did. Yeah, we had Kevin Walker the same.
So Bailey number 5 of all time on both of ours. I mean, what else can we say than what, you know? And the thing is, he's still fighting. So, and he's still really freaking young. So who knows where he's going to go, right? So number 5, Bailey. All right.
I could see Bailey, if I'm looking at the rest of my list, Bailey could get the 3.
Yeah.
And this is where I have to say, like, are we just going to take the top 2 and just say it's just untouchable forever? Because if I don't think that's fair. So
no.
Like,
yeah.
Well, let's just keep going. Okay. Well, let's wait till we get to the end.
So
okay,
honestly, we haven't mentioned some of these names. One of my top 5 you've already mentioned, but my 4 is Ross. Ross Levine is my 4. So I have him at 4. When you really look at the accomplishments he did in point karate, right? And coming in like his first term as an adult and winning the Warrior Cup and continuing to be there. And then at one point, just the only other person besides, you know, Jason in the early years, but in the later years during his, to have Raymond's number, to be there, to be that high level. And then just to kind of like how, you know, if he shows up, all right, he's going to win. Right. And the truth is, with someone like Ross too, it wasn't like he was one who just showed up at 5 tournaments. He did almost every NASCAR tournament for a long time, you know? And so, you know,
took losses really personal. I also have Ross Levine at number 4. Right. This is not real life. Number 3 is definitely where it changes. But I mean, like, he takes like a record, like, serious, right? Like, if you've got a winning record against somebody or not, like, like, there would be times where he would remind me, like, you better win your division because we're not in the same weight class. I need to beat you. I'm like, what are you talking about for me for? Don't you remember that one time? And I'm like, man, that was so long ago. He takes it personal. He didn't just want to win. He wanted to win, and he was like, it's almost like while he was like younger, planning for this list.
Yeah. Right. All right. So for number 3 for me is someone you had already. I think you already mentioned, and I have him way higher, and that's Anthony Price. So to me, Anthony Price was a killer. Anthony Price was someone. A lot of people say Pedro was the fighter of the 90s. I feel like Anthony Price could have been that fighter of the 90s too. It really was, you know, them back and forth. And the thing is, Anthony was winning the senior grands at some point and then was going on and then winning the overall grands against these guys. So he would have to win his little one here and then get added into that and then fight everybody as well. Yeah. And so
Anthony Price is definitely a name that I could re-examine, and I could see myself changing that upward and
I mean, it's just the respect I think, like, just his winning attitude and the way that you know, his successfulness, you know, of winning grands back then. So, all right, that was my number 3. So who's your number 3?
My number 3?
Oh, I know what your number 3 is. Yeah,
say it.
Jason Borelli. Yeah.
Jason Borelli is my number 3. All right.
Yeah. So I had him at what, 6 or 7? I had him at 6.
Yeah, Jason Borelli is definitely my number 3. Greatest kicker of all time. All right. He would come through and just sometimes he would look like, man, are you even ready for this tournament? Right? Like, no. Oh, you want to wave? What's up, bud? Now you want to wave? Say hi. Oh, now you don't want to say nothing. You want to get up and get out of bed, but now you don't want to say nothing. All right. But Jason Borelli would be one of those guys where sometimes he would look like, man, are you ready for this tournament today? Right?
Yeah.
And then just all of a sudden have like a Herculean performance that, like, you just, like, Wally Faulkner just like puts on repeat, right? And you're like, oh my gosh. All right.
Yeah.
So I guess I did forget your name is Jason freaking Borelli. All right, never mind. All right. So Jason Borelli's number.
All right. And honestly, I feel like truthfully, if all this is as wild, but our top 5 is really similar
Pretty
except one
close.
spot. Right?
Yeah.
So
Except that
number
one spot.
2 to me, like, and I went back and forth on this, but I'm gonna go number 2, Nasty Anderson. So number 2 is Nasty.
I also have Nasty at number 2. Jody's just chiming in. He missed his name, right?
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah.
Because we both had him on here. The Super Fighter. All right.
The
so we both have Nasty Anderson, number 2. That means
we both
have a
Raymond
consensus. Raymond Daniels is
number
number 1.
Yes. So, like, our top 5s are very similar. Just I had Anthony Price at number 3, and you had Jason Borelli at number 3. So, yeah. So, hey, man, I feel like we had a pretty good list.
I had a stressful week doing this.
It was a stressful week. It was a stressful day. It's a stressful everything.
Yeah.
Travis.
I'm glad you guys had fun doing it.
Thanks, Trav. God,
it's gonna be fun later, right?
Yeah. Well, no, I'm gonna post it.
No.
I'm gonna post the number, what rankings you guys had them as, and all that good stuff. So.
And then we'll start getting the hate.
Let's
Johnny's gonna do a video bashing both of us tomorrow. I can't wait.
No, you had him too low. I feel like I had him pretty accurate. But as you're looking at your list now, Jeff.
Yeah.
Who's someone where you're like, I probably should have put this person higher?
Well, I mean, Jody's someone. Yeah.
Where did you have him?
I had him at 12. So yeah, I mean, I definitely, and again, that's and truthfully, I probably should have had him higher because I've seen him in my own eyes.
You should have had.
Well, yeah, but hold on. I saw him with my own eyes. So maybe I should have put him higher. But I'm also like, I'm just holding. I mean, I had Ray McCollum after him. But like Vitaly for me is someone that I hear. It's like a legend, and I've watched his fights. I've watched his legs. I've seen, and the records he had back then, so that
I'm going to be
was
straight about Vitaly, right? About that from the 70s. When you said you had someone from the 70s, I knew that's who you were going to have.
Yeah. And then McCullum was there too.
That's true. Sometimes that stuff, it's almost folklore, right? Like, oh, these guys were just busting on guys.
Right.
And when you do look at some of the tape, you're like, yeah, but these guys were wearing grunt cups on the outside of their pants. And they were like the only kick they threw was a front kick.
I don't want my face on here while you going off on these people from the.
Oh, I'm not gonna name no one. No, I'm not naming names, but I'm just saying it's hard to put a guy above some of these guys who went against guys who their only kick was a front kick.
All right, so actually, there's is there someone? Honestly, there's 2 names that just popped in my head that honestly probably should have been my top 25, but I don't know who I'd take off. That's what's hard. Because someone like a Larry Tankston, right? Like the success. Who are you
gonna put him? Are you gonna put him over Kevin Thompson?
That's what I mean. That's what's and I didn't have Kevin on mine. So
right. So
Kevin
look at that. You didn't have Kevin Thompson on yours, but are you gonna put him over Kevin Thompson? Right.
And then what about Scorpion? What if we put someone like Scorpion, right?
That's another thing. Like I really thought about that too. Like, am I going to put Scorpion? Right. Am I going to put Scorpion over like Cam Dawson?
Right.
Probably not. As much as Scorpion is a legend and as good as Scorpion was, I'm probably not going to do that. All right. The one thing that I'm looking at.
We also didn't put Billy. We didn't put Billy Blanks on our list either. Yeah.
I didn't put Billy Blanks on the list. I did think about it. Right.
Yeah. I'm just gonna ask this question real quick.
Yeah.
What was the criteria that you guys used?
Their career
for your selection.
Really, just their career.
I try to look at wins. I mean, and not just first place wins. I try to look at overall wins or grand champion wins.
I didn't just look at wins. All right, you had to be that kind of fighter. Like the skill mattered. It wasn't just the wins. I don't just look at wins, but that has to be criteria number 1 because otherwise you're not the top. You can't put someone like Justice Lawrence, who I think is like one of the most skilled fighters, definitely the most skilled kicker, right? But like you can't put him. You could put him in the top 50, right? You couldn't put him in the top 70, right? Because you just can't, right?
Right.
He didn't win, but I definitely am going to put a guy if their winning level is pretty close. I am going to take the guy who's more skilled. I'm going to take the guy who's a better fighter. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm gonna look at who has the killer instinct, who's gonna win in the last second, the sudden death wins. You know what I mean? That's what
that's the blunder
and,
I
and
think
you know
I
what the
had.
hardest part? The hardest part of this is like some of these people, and I think this comes from more of us because of where we come from, the 2000s. We hold certain people like Jason so high because of the team fighting wins, right? And those types of things, and Trevor, and you know how many of some of those people didn't even get to do things like that in the 80s. You know, the team fighting was still more of like a specialty thing. It wasn't the main event, right? Like until it got into the 90s, right?
True.
Yeah, but sometimes like in the 80s and 70s, the divisions were so large that to come out and win first place out of that division versus it'll be the same size as we have for open weight. But now each division is that same size. Yeah, so you had to fight a lot more in the 80s. So I was just curious what you guys used for your criteria.
Well, I mean, I think there's some people that won Ed Parker Internationals back in the day we probably should have put on there. You know, like you're talking about like a Ray Wizard and someone like that. You know, I think the hard part is those guys, we didn't see them enough in other tournaments, right? And then you have people that were very successful in the NBL. I think NBL sometimes gets that look, you know, because of that, you know, but like Ray Wizard, Damon Gilbert winning the overall grands. That really put me to have Damon in my top 25 that, especially of how it was back then. Right. And watching the fights that him and Ray had back in the day for him to get over that hump of beating Ray, you know. So
I will say, if it would have been just doing the top 10, I don't think that would not have been as hard. I would have been able to do that in like a few minutes. All right.
I agree.
The top 25 definitely made it more fun and definitely like way more stressful. Right.
Yeah.
But if I would have done this again, I would have definitely said like Anthony Price.
I guess you guys do agree that you guys are now saying that Bailey Murphy is now top 5 all time.
He is.
We said that.
I've said that.
We said that.
Wait, who is that? Who had Richard Plowden too low? I didn't have Richard Plowden too low. I had Richard Plowden at number 9.
I had him 15, so yeah, that's probably too low.
Yeah.
But again, I mean, I don't know. It's hard with some of the people from back then that had these wins with all those divisions, you know. Like, I mean, like imagine how big some of the divisions were that Keith Fatality won, you know, that Ray McCullum won, that Nasty won, you know. So
But where did you have Ray McCullum?
13.
Where did you have Avery?
14.
See, that's where I feel like you messed up.
Well, I don't think there's a single more big wins than his dad, right? So I put him there. But were the divisions as big as what his dad had to go against? No.
Now here's where you got to look at this.
So yeah.
All right. Here's why I say this. All right. Ray McCullum, who's an all-time champ. Yes. Avery Plowden is an all-time champ. Yes. I mean, we can kind of look at this and be like, they are champions we will talk about for a while.
Right.
Okay. I don't see a world in where Avery Plowden loses to anybody in Ray McCullum's division ever.
That's just so hard to say because he wouldn't be who he is without those people going forward. So I don't know. That's just
correct. But then at some point, but see, that's what I'm saying. Like you got to look at like here's champions. They're both really good. Yeah, now you got to look at like who is the better fighter.
Right. But listen, we already like didn't list some of the people from the 60s and the 70s, you know, that most people would put in their top 25.
Yeah, how did y'all not have Joe Louis or Chuck Norris on this list? What are y'all thinking? Bill Superfoot Wallace. Well, how does he not on here?
Couldn't. You tell me. Listen, Bill Superfoot Wallace. Bill Wallace would have scored 0 points against Johnny Tension. 0. All right.
You don't want to be on there on that one.
I'm just saying, if you
So-
put him up, all right. Okay, let's
So
not take
listen-
Johnny because I had Johnny tension really high. Let's
Did
say
you watch the video? Did you watch the video of Jeff Smith versus Billy Blanks from
Yes.
Bermuda International?
and
All
we
right,
were
so
robbed of the fact that
there's-
there was only 3 points. That should have been
yes,
that
that
should have been a
great.
3-minute match.
But that's a great example of kind of what you're saying, right? Is someone from what he was probably fighting point karate 10 years before, right? And then he was fighting someone at the top at that time, right? So I think all right, Jonathan. So I don't know. I think it's a similar kind of comparison of where you kind of see that, right? The only time that I've seen something different would that happen would be honestly in the women's side, where I've seen Linda Dinley still in her 40s and late in beating people who were the top, and that's just why it's hard to put her anywhere, not in that top 3 of all time,
Who's the her?
I'm talking about like people like someone like Linda Dinley, like I've seen her beat like at Capital Classics, they used to do the dream team versus the new ones. And, you would have Peaches, Nikki Carlson, and I'm trying to remember who else but I think they put Michelle Arango. It was pretty much the prestige team against Linda Dinley, Arlene Lemus, and Ronda Alexander. And they, and they still won, and this was past what people would say their prime, but she was still whipping people, right? So I don't know.
That's kind of where someone goes, I fought them after I was me and before they were them.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Right.
There's some of that. I've had some of that.
Well, that's why I put Anthony Price so high on the list because of that.
I will tell you this. In the moment, I knew it. Right. I'm fighting. It was one time I'm fighting Avery Plowden in a tournament. We didn't fight each other that many times. Really, only just a couple of times. Right. And I went into overtime. Right. And I'm like, I have to win this. I have to win this. I don't know that I'm going to have many years left, and he has at least 10, right?
Right.
Yeah, I did not win that, but I was coulda, woulda, shoulda, one of those things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that would have been one of those things where it was like, after I was me, before he was him, I had my opportunity. Didn't take it.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, that was fun. That was a great episode. Yes, it's going to be posted. We're going to be putting all those out. So
where's this going to be, Travis?
He's going to post it on the page. He's going to, right?
Yeah, I'm going to post it on the page. I'm going to post it. I'm making the graphics now for it.
Nice.
All right, dope.
All right. So we got lots of great news coming up soon. More WMAC news. Also some things leading up to, we got the battle coming up. We got the US Open. Got lots of big events coming up. I'm going to be having my tournament again, guys. Grand Slam Experience, June 22nd. Registration is up. So go to mattaction.com for that. Wow. And
I don't know about that.
Yeah, and see, there's that. Yeah, wins over those 4, but that doesn't mean that, again, like Willie is someone that
I thought about it.
But,
I did think about it.
But you know what, like it's still like overall, I don't know. That's a tough one because he had a great career and still is killing it right now. So
yeah,
it's hard. Again, if you asked me to do it and restart over and do it again, I'd probably have a whole different list. Not in my top 5 though. I don't think my top 5 would change much.
Top 10 would.
Yeah,
my
probably
top
not.
10 would.
But the 11 to 25 could change, right? So
yeah, because I definitely would put Anthony Price higher.
Yeah.
I think some of the guys that I didn't have on there that you did, like Alfie Lewis and Keith Vitale, I made a decision.
Yeah.
I'm going to go like this, and they're not going to be on.
Yeah.
And so I feel good about that.
Yep. All right. Well.
All right, Adrian, since you snuck out of bed to be here, do you want to say goodbye to everybody?
No.
Say hi. See, look how shy he is. Messed up. You're going to get in trouble getting out of bed and they're not even going to do nothing about it. All right. This has been another episode of Inside Scoop with Alex and Jeff. I'm Alex Dingman.
I'm Jeff Doss. See you guys next week.